Gray drizzle veiled Briarwood as the sun struggled to break through its blanket of clouds. The cobblestone lanes glistened from the night's rainfall, their usual color muted under the damp. Daniel Mercer, a 32-year-old solicitor, leaned against the brick facade of his office, Mercer and Company, sipping lukewarm black coffee. His thoughts were elsewhere, drifting to the accident 7 years ago that had carved hollows into his memory. His brooding was interrupted when he noticed a small boy emerge across the street. No older than 6, wearing an oversized hoodie, curls damp from the mist. The boy held a yellow banana in his hand like it was treasure. He crossed the street with a surprising shooty, then stopped before Daniel. "Sir," the boy said timidly. Daniel straightened. "Yes. Is this where the lawyers work?" "It is. Do you need one?" The boy stepped forward and held out the banana. "My name's Leo. My mom's in trouble. She didn't do anything wrong. I walked here because this is all I had to give. Please help her." Daniel's chest tightened. "You came alone. From where?" "From Peckham. It's not so far, right?" Daniel nearly dropped his cup. 10 kilometers. Bridges. Rough neighborhoods. Why not ask the police? "They already think she did it," Leo whispered, eyes downcast. "They said she stole a necklace, but she didn't. She always tells me never to take even sweets we don't pay for." His voice trembled, but his gaze burned with resolve. "What's your mom's name?" "Sofia Alvarez. She works at Regal Gold Jewelers." Daniel crouched, extending his hand. "All right, Leo. Let's get you warm food. Then you'll tell me everything. I'll help her. That's a promise." They entered a fogged-up cafe nearby. The barista's eyes widened at Leo's soaked clothes, but asked no questions. Daniel ordered soup, bread, and hot chocolate. The boy's hands shook as he clutched the steaming mug, but he smiled faintly. Between sips, he told his story. Sofia raised him alone in a tiny flat above a laundrette. She worked long hours, always bringing home a chocolate bar when she returned late. A few days ago, police had stormed their home, accusing her of theft. Since then, Leo had been left with his Aunt Marta. But last night, while Marta slept, he slipped out, determined to find someone who would believe his mother. After their meal, Daniel hailed a cab to Marta's flat in Peckham. Leo fell asleep against the window on the ride. Marta answered the door in panic when she saw them. "Leo, where have you been?" Daniel explained. "He came to my office. Asked me to help. I'm a solicitor." Marta hugged her nephew tightly, then turned to Daniel, eyes wet. "Can I trust you with this?" Daniel nodded. "I'll go to the station tomorrow. If there's any proof of Sofia's innocence, I'll find it." Before he left, Leo tugged Daniel's sleeve. "Will you still help? Even though all I had was a banana?" Daniel smiled. "That's the best retainer I've ever received." That night, in his flat, Daniel stared at an old, faded photograph of a woman's smile, one he couldn't quite place. He hadn't felt this alive since law school. Maybe Leo and Sofia were more connected to his past than he realized. He drifted to sleep with the banana on his nightstand. Morning broke with London's familiar drizzle. Daniel Mercer arrived at South Precinct Police Station, the banana tucked safely in his briefcase, not for eating, but as a reminder of the promise he'd made. Inside, the station buzzed with phone calls and hurried footsteps. At the front desk, Daniel presented his ID. "I'm here on behalf of Sofia Alvarez. I need to speak with the officer handling her case." The desk sergeant, a weary woman, gestured. "Detective Rowan. Second door on the left." Detective Rowan was wiry, sleeves rolled to his elbows, stubble rough on his jaw. He motioned for Daniel to sit. "Hear about Alvarez?" "Yes. Her son came to me yesterday. Walked alone from Peckham." Rowan's brows lifted. "He what?" "He believes in his mother's innocence." "I do too. I'd like to review the evidence." Rowan studied him, then slid a thin folder across the desk. Inside, arrest records, a witness statement, and grainy CCTV stills. Sofia stood behind the counter at Regal Gold Jewelers, speaking with a blonde woman. "That's Vanessa Hale," Rowan confirmed. "Boss's mistress. Sapphire necklace went missing. Sofia was on shift alone." Daniel frowned. "That's all? No other footage?" "That's what the store gave us." Daniel closed the folder. "So the case rests entirely on what the store manager provided." "That's the official line." Daniel stood. "Not good enough. I'll be back." By midday, he stood outside Regal Gold. The glass storefront gleamed with wealth, gold-lettered signage pristine. Inside, Richard Vaughan, a tall man with steel-gray temples, attended to a customer. When Daniel introduced himself, Vaughn's smile thinned. Alvarez has been dealt with. Nothing more to discuss. On the contrary, Daniel said coolly. Let's discuss the CCTV you didn't hand over. I turned over what was necessary. And Vanessa Hale. Where is she now? That's irrelevant. It's relevant because she has a record for shoplifting. And she was the only one with Sophia that day. If you're hiding footage, I'll find it. And then I'll go public. Vaughn's eyes narrowed. Are you threatening me, Mr. Mercer? I'm promising you. A long silence passed before Vaughn muttered. There's more footage. But it's inconclusive. Let me be the judge of that. Hours later, back at his office, Daniel and Clara Jennings, his sharp paralegal, watched the full surveillance tapes. Marta sat beside them, tense. On screen, Vanessa entered the shop. Sophia handed her a necklace, turned away to answer the phone. Vanessa glanced around, then slipped the necklace into her bag. Clear as daylight, Daniel said. You'll get Sophia out. Marta whispered. Not just out. Cleared. And compensated for every penny Vaughn owes her. Daniel called Detective Rowan and forwarded the footage. Within hours, Rowan responded. This changes everything. She'll be released by morning. The next day, Daniel and Leo waited outside the station. The boy clutched Daniel's hand tightly. When the doors opened, Sophia stepped out. Her eyes landed on Leo, and she dropped her bag to gather him in her arms. Tears streamed as she buried her face in his curls. Daniel approached quietly. Sophia looked up at him. You're the one my son found. Why? Because he believed in you so fiercely. I couldn't help but believe too. He paused, voice low. And because I think I know you. Or maybe I did once. Her brows knitted in confusion, but she nodded. Daniel felt something stir inside, an ache, a flicker of memory. A name he thought he'd forgotten. Sophia Alvarez. 2 days after Sophia's release, London's rare spring sunshine broke through, scattering light across puddles like shattered glass. Outside the precinct, Daniel Mercer stood with Leo and Marta. The boy clutched his hand, unusually quiet, eyes fixed on the doors. When Sophia finally stepped out, dressed in borrowed clothes and carrying only a coat over her arm, she froze at the sight of her son. Leo bolted forward, crying, "Mom!" She fell to her knees, clutching him as if she might never let go again. Marta hugged her, whispering, but Sophia's gaze quickly found Daniel. Their eyes locked. You're the solicitor? He nodded. Daniel Mercer. Yes. She tilted her head, emotions unreadable. Why would a stranger help us? Because your son made me believe in you before I even saw the evidence. He hesitated. And because something about this feels familiar. Later that week, Daniel sat in his office staring at an old photo tucked inside a file marked accident recovery. The image was blurred, the woman's face partly obscured by her hand. But the eyes, those eyes haunted him. 7 years ago, he had crashed in Bloomsbury, spent a month in a coma, and lost 3 years of memory. The doctors had called it trauma-induced amnesia. But seeing Sophia stirred something deep. Lydia knocked. Sophia Alvarez is here to see you. Send her in. Sophia entered, looking more composed, handbag clutched close. Thanks for seeing me, she said, settling across from him. Thank you for coming. They sat in silence until Daniel spoke. I'd like to offer you a job. As my assistant. Sophia blinked. Excuse me? Is this pity? It's faith. You've run retail, managed staff, handled clients. You're organized. Sharp. Honest. I could use that. She let out a small laugh. You're strange. I've been told worse. Her smile faded into something cautious. Do you believe in second chances, Mr. Mercer? Every day. I shouldn't even be alive. Car accident, Bloomsbury. 7 years ago. I lost 3 years to amnesia. Her fingers gripped her bag. I've had dreams, Daniel confessed. A woman's voice. Laughter. I never saw her face clearly, until I saw yours. Sophia stood abruptly, chair scraping. She paced, then turned. We were together, Daniel. For nearly 3 years. We met at university. I spilled coffee on your books. You asked me out with the worst line I'd ever heard. Daniel's chest tightened. You hated noisy cafes, but came anyway because I loved the music. You loved cinnamon rolls. My perfume. You said it smelled like lavender in spring. And one day, you just vanished. I didn't vanish. I crashed. I never knew. I found out weeks later. The hospital kept your name private. I called your number for months before giving up. Her voice cracked. Daniel stepped forward, trembling. Sophia, is Leo mine? Her eyes brimmed with tears. She nodded. Daniel's knees nearly buckled. Why didn't you tell me? Because you didn't remember me. I wouldn't burden a man struggling to piece himself back together. Daniel covered his face, then looked up, raw. I want to know him. To be his father. And if you'll let me, part of your life too. Sophia crossed the room, hesitated, then placed her hand over his. Start by being his dad. The rest we'll figure out. The morning after Sophia revealed the truth about Leo, Daniel awoke before dawn, thoughts tangled between memory fragments and the weight of newfound fatherhood. For 7 years, he'd believed he'd only lost time. Now he knew he'd lost love, a partner, and a child. At his office, still quiet before the staff arrived, he reopened Sophia's case file. It wasn't just legal work anymore, it was personal. A knock startled him. He expected Clara Jennings, his paralegal, but instead found Marta carrying takeaway coffee. I hope I'm not too early, she said. Not at all, Daniel replied, surprised. She set down the tray. Naomi, sorry, Sophia, told me everything. About you, the accident, the lost years. She's torn, you know. So am I. But not about wanting to do right. Marta sat across from him. She was devastated when you disappeared. She thought you'd come back. When Leo was born, she had no choice but to move on. If you want to be in his life, fix this case. Prove you're not just the man who forgot her, but the one who fights for her. Daniel nodded. Then let's get to work. By mid-morning, he'd scheduled meetings with an IT forensics expert and, through Marta's connections, a former Regal Gold employee. Her name was Pauline. They met in a quiet Soho cafe. I worked under Sophia, Pauline said, fingers nervously tapping her cup. She was strict but fair. Vanessa Hale strutted in like she owned the place. I once saw her slip a brooch into her purse. Told Vaughn, but he warned me to keep quiet or lose my job. Daniel leaned forward. Would you testify? She hesitated. I can't afford scandal. I have a new job. But, if it comes to it, yes. Just keep me anonymous for now. Back at the office, Clara Jennings had uncovered more surveillance footage, this time from cameras outside the shop. On screen, Vanessa exited with a bulging handbag, disappeared behind a delivery van, then returned minutes later with the bag noticeably lighter. That's where she stashed it, Clara said. They tracked the van through traffic records. It belonged to Carl, a delivery driver. When Detective Rowan contacted him, Carl produced dashcam footage, Vanessa opening his van, dropping a pouch inside, and making a call. Her voice was clear. It's done. Vaughn won't say a word. He's too scared of losing his marriage. Rowan glanced at Daniel. That's our confession. The following day, Sophia arrived at the firm with Leo, who carried a sketchbook. Did you fix it yet, Daddy? The boy asked eagerly. Daniel's heart squeezed at the word. Almost, mate. Almost. In the conference room, he laid out the evidence, testimonies, footage, audio. Sophia's hands trembled. I don't know what to say, she whispered. Say yes, Daniel said gently. Work here. Let me show you I'm still the man you once loved. She looked at him a long time, then whispered, one step at a time. Then take this step with me. She nodded. That night, Daniel sat in his garden, journal in his lap. He flipped to a page written years ago, lavender, laughter, cinnamon rolls. A future I can't see but feel in my bones. He finally understood. That future had a name, Sophia. By the time Sophia's hearing arrived, Daniel Mercer had spent countless nights refining every detail of her defense. He knew the prosecution's case was brittle, but this wasn't about procedure anymore. It was about giving back the years she'd unjustly lost. The courtroom was modest but heavy with tension. Sophia sat between Daniel and Marta, her chin lifted though her fingers trembled beneath the table. Across the aisle, Vanessa Hale and Richard Vaughn looked stiff, their solicitor flipping frantically through papers. Detective Rowan presented the new evidence, Pauline's testimony, the external surveillance, Carl's dashcam, and Vanessa's own voice implicating Vaughn. The judge, a woman with sharp eyes and a steady tone, listened intently. When she finally spoke, the words rang like a gavel strike. The charges against Sofia Alvarez were unfounded, pursued with reckless disregard. This case is dismissed with prejudice. Relief surged through the room. Sophia let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. Reporters crowded the exit, but Daniel shielded her. His statement was brief. Justice was delayed, not denied. Miss Alvarez can now move forward freely. That evening, the firm gathered in their courtyard to celebrate. Lydia brought cake, Marta brought wine, Leo cut confetti from colored paper. Daniel pulled Sophia aside. "This is just the beginning," he said softly. "What do you mean?" "You've got your name back. You'll have opportunities, choices. And more than that, you've given Leo something bigger, hope." Sophia studied him in the glow of string lights. "How do I thank you?" "You already did," he murmured. "By trusting me." In the weeks that followed, life began to knit itself together again. Sophia worked at Daniel's firm, arriving early, leaving late, pouring herself into files as if diligence could erase scars. Leo thrived. Friday chess with Daniel, Saturday morning pancakes, school pickups. Slowly, he began calling Daniel Dad without hesitation. One weekend, Daniel whisked them to a cottage in Sussex. They cooked together, read by firelight, played board games until Leo declared victory and stormed off to bed smugly. That night, under the moon, Sophia confessed, "I think I love this version of you, but I'm afraid to say it aloud." Daniel kissed her hand. "Then let me say it for both of us." Back in London, the rhythm deepened. Daniel began leaving things at her flat, a toothbrush, a sweater, a novel. She didn't ask him to take them back. They laughed more, healed more. And one quiet night, after Marta had whisked Leo away for the weekend, Daniel cooked dinner by candlelight. Sophia tilted her head. "What's the occasion?" "Nothing. Everything," he said. "We've been circling each other. Tonight, let's be honest." Over wine, they shared everything. The fears, the lost years, the silly memories of university days. Finally, Daniel reached across the table. "I loved you then. I love you now. I'll love you through every version of our story." Tears filled her eyes. "You're not asking for my hand, are you?" "No. Just your heart again." She rose and wrapped her arms around him. "You already have it." From that night forward, there were no more walls. Months later, they moved into a flat in Camden. Leo raced through the halls, declaring where his books and toys would go. In the garden, Sophia trailed her fingers across lavender bushes, smiling. "It's perfect." And it grew more perfect still. On the day Leo's adoption was finalized, he beamed with the name Leo Mercer. Later that night, Sophia handed Daniel an envelope with an ultrasound inside. "I'm 12 weeks," she whispered. Daniel's eyes filled. "We're having a baby." She nodded. "You, me, and now us." Years later, on a summer morning, Sophia stirred oats in their kitchen while Leo sliced bananas. Daniel shuffled in carrying their daughter, Ella, who clung to his shirt with sleepy fingers. They walked to the park as a family, Ella in her stroller, Leo on his scooter, Sophia and Daniel hand in hand. On their favorite bench, Daniel whispered, "Funny how it started, with a boy, a banana, and a broken man." Sophia leaned against him, smiling. And a woman who believed in second chances. They sat watching their children play, the city alive around them, knowing their extraordinary love story wasn't ending, only continuing, day by day.